Christopher Haase, who is somebody who's been a mainstay of Audi now for a number of seasons, is the man at the wheel of car 6 at the moment. FIA GT3 European champion going back to 2009. And he comes then now down towards Speaker's Corner. He's on the same lap as the number 2 Audi you were just looking at. How about that for all 4 wheels off? Way, way wide at Speaker Corner there, coming downhill.
For what?
Well, exactly.
15 minutes to go. Okay, you might say he's a lap down on the 3rd place, Andre Lotterer, Audi. Sometimes that's what some drivers do. That's the way they can keep their concentration. By just suddenly relaxing and saying, well, 15 minutes to go, I don't need to try. You can actually end up getting yourself into trouble by losing that focus, whereas if you do keep pushing and you keep your motivation and your adrenaline levels high, at least your perception is where it should be.
And this is the car that runs 5th, Tony Villander for AF Corsa. It's a rather modest Ferrari, that. It hardly draws attention to itself at all, does it? There's barely a sticker on the car.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much straight out of the showroom. It's got a windscreen sticker promoting the event in Baku in October. And others, a bit of Total on the front. Well, they're the series race sponsor. And a Ferrari sticker and a bit of Pirelli in the rear wing. So not a lot of commercial sponsorship there.
No. The only other thing you see on the door is a BRDC badge for Alex Mortimer, who is a member of the British Racing Drivers Club. And he is standing in the pit garage watching on as Tony Villander brings it home. And that car now is a lap up on the opposition after this man, Maurizio Mediani, had to serve that stop-go penalty.
Well, taking a lot of the inside of the Fagna. The first part of it, the right-hand side, gets the rear wheel right over the curb and onto the grass.
14 minutes on the clock then, and we're not getting people pushing on for position anymore. We're just trying to get these cars home to the finish. Although we talk about the total 24 hours of Spa as a race in itself, it is, of course, a point-scoring round of the Blancpain Endurance Series. They've already had points awarded at 6 hours, and at 12 they get double points, the normal full quota, in other words, at the end of the 24 hours. So the drivers here conscious that they need to make sure they get the cars to the finish, and all of the drivers who finish in the top 3 in each of the classes being reminded that they need to make themselves available for the podium ceremonies post-race. Lucas Ordonez goes through in the Nissan. Circuit looking pretty dusty there. That's where we had quite a few spins over the course of the race.
Yeah, but I mean, we were just watching one of the Audis, the Haase car, and he was running the inside wheel, the right rear wheel, over the curb, kissing the grass, and that's what's dragged the dirt on to that part of the racetrack that stopped there.
Is that there recently, or has that been there for a while?
I think that's just recent.
Check that in a moment, see who we might be missing from the lap chart, as it were. Look at all the rubber that's junked around there. You know exactly where the racing line is, because effectively you're threading your way through all the marbles.
Well, that's one of the difficulties, because the racing line effectively becomes, in many parts of the racetrack, just a line. You haven't got the full access to the full circuit, simply because if you do, you'll pick up so much pickup that not only will it destroy your set of tyres for a period, but lumps of rubber can actually do a lot of damage to bodywork and other parts of the car.
Now, the team manager of this car, number 20, Fred Bouvi's Ferrari, is still being summoned to the stewards. That message is still on the screen. And so if there is some action to be taken, we've not yet had that revealed to us. That could be because he's not got there, and if he doesn't hurry up, then he'll be in even more hot water. 52 for Sport Garage continues behind. That's Thierry Pragno. He makes his way through La Source. That is a car that is definitely grubby, isn't it? That has really had a hard race. Yeah, well, of course, the colour of the car highlights it maybe a little bit more than other colours from yellow when it gets mucky, and that's certainly got a mucky car. You can see all the rubber streaks over the car. Again, just through a rouge, kicking up the dust. Not really something you should think about doing with less than 15 minutes of this race to go. We're now 11 minutes and 54 seconds. Well, there's 1-1-1. Catanio Ardania Perez behind the wheel of the Kessel Racing Ferrari, the surviving Kessel Racing Ferrari, to promote Venezuela. And as it comes down towards Bruxelles, this car is 3rd in the Gentleman Trophy. A drive-through penalty for number 20, Fred Bouvi, for a pit stop infringement. So it was to do, therefore, with that push start. And a drive-through is going now to have to serve that. It won't cost it anything in real terms, but there is a drive-through penalty set for car number 20. So as the field then works its way to the end of lap 5 60. Number 6 Audi is into the pits. Christopher Haase down the pit lane. So the car that was in 4th place into the pits. This is another one for Jack, if he can, to go and find out about, because number 6 comes in and it's not for a penalty as far as we know. So that is a big surprise that that car should need to come in with only 11 minutes of the race remaining. We'll see if we can gain news from Audi. There is Frank Stippler, who's not terribly concerned about that car. There is number 6 rejoining back into the race, still with Christopher Haase at the wheel. Kind of makes you think it was a splash and dash, but that would surprise me if that were the case. It's back on track now. In Pro-Am, 59 Tony Villander ahead of 71 Maurizio Mediani. The question's just been posed to me as to whether, had that 71 Ferrari had fewer pit stops, because it's had 4 more than the AF Corsa car, it could have been into the top 3 overall. Not sure, because of the necessity to have the bronze graded drivers in the car for a certain amount of time. It's not just the pit stop time that would go against the Pro-Am drivers, it's also the relative pace of the lowest graded driver that's in the car. Bronze graded drivers, for example, have got to do a minimum of 6 hours in the car. Bronze driving time cumulatively, if you've got 2 bronze drivers, it's still 6 hours. You can split it between them. If it's 1 bronze driver, he must do the 6 hours. So it's not just the pit stops, I think, that would have cost that car a podium finish, and the same is true also for 59. It's also the relative pace of the amateur drivers, if that answers the question for you. So it's still one of the reasons why the Pro Cup will always prevail, because there you've got drivers of a very, very fast pace and all pretty much able to run to the same pace, give or take a few tenths. There's less disparity, whereas in Pro-Am, where you've got genuinely paid pros, they might be quicker on occasions than some in the Pro Cup, but the AMs will certainly be slower than those who will be doing the other stint behind the wheel, the bronze drivers. So you've got that disparity between the pair. But it's a good question to pose, and that's, I reckon, the reason for it. But Pro-Am has really been a very, very good fight in this race. Inevitably, you tend to focus on the Pro Cup and what's been going on there. But Pro-Am, once again, has got the 2 leading cars back on the lead lap. Granted, there's a lot of lap between them, but they're there on the same lap now. And Tony Villander, I think, will still prevail. But up front, this is Bernd Schneider heading with 8.5 minutes still to go to the checkered flag. 8.5 minutes divided by 2.5, which is a flying lap, is going to be the number of laps to go. And as he comes now up towards the Pif Paf, or Le Fan as it used to be known, he goes under increasingly leaden sky. I still think Murphy's Law will say that it'll rain as soon as the flag goes out, and we'll get through the race, but we won't get through the podium without some rain. But we'll see whether that's going to be borne out, as the Mercedes then accelerates off out of campus through the Courbe Paul Frere in a moment, and then up towards Blanchimont. And the 84 Mercedes, the HTP Motorsport car, has just gone impeccably. It has not missed a beat throughout the course of this race. And this great combination of the GT stars of the future, along with a real old pro in the person of Bernd Schneider, just looks to have been the perfect combination of drivers, doesn't it? Through the bus stop comes the car. And for a man who's retired, Bernd Schneider's done a lot of winning this year. He should retire more often. He keeps winning races. He comes over the timing line. 7 minutes and 23 seconds, there or thereabouts on the clock when he broke the timing beam that time. He's up towards La Source, and he turns his way now out of the tight hairpin and plunges downhill once again. And that's how the sky looks. It's getting greyer, it's getting darker. And the race leader powers uphill once more. So Bernd Schneider, all he has to do now is bring it home. No dramas for him. No dramas for the car, no dramas for the team that we've been aware of. Quick reminder of how we look in Pro Cup. That's your top 6: Mercedes, Porsche, Audi, Porsche. And it means that the Pro Speed 75 is 5th in class, which is good for points. We talk about the overall positions because they are, of course, more relevant for the race, but in terms of championship you get points per class, and so 5th points for the Porsche is going to be very significant indeed, and the championship will be shaping up nicely for the 1,000-kilometre race at the Nürburgring, 22nd of September. And as I've been saying, it's a good weekend of racing, that. If you fancy coming to have a look at Blancpain in the flesh, then I'd certainly recommend the last round of the championship. Great circuit and some good support races to keep you entertained as well. Here, the leading car. Is this going to be one that's purely here for 24 hours, or could, if it scores a win here, the team be tempted back to race at the Nürburgring as well? Keep your fingers crossed that they will. Same true of the second place Manthey Racing team. So for Dieter Eberling's team, Bernd Schneider leads the way, and we're into the last 6 minutes of the race now. Lower down the order, 4th and 5th are not that far apart, with the Christopher Haase Audi being chased by Tony Villander, but although he was lapping a little bit quicker by 0.3 of a second, I think the gap is too much for him to make up, and Tony, yeah, he's about 2/3 of a lap back. He'll also realise that the class position is more important than overall, so he'll no doubt aim to bring the car home now in a safe 5th place. More Mercedes heading towards us, the Black Falcon cars, the second of which is Steve Jans, who is 4th in Pro-Am. There's the Pro-Am leader, Tony Villander, at the wheel out of La Source, now heading downhill once again. Matt Griffin looking a bit nervous there as he watches the clock tick away. Behind him is Alex Mortimer, Duncan Cameron with the long grey hair sitting at the front of the garage. They were winners together, Duncan and Matt, in the IGTO races, or the second IGTO race, International GT Open at Silverstone a fortnight ago. And now potentially class winners in the total 24 hours of Spa as well. Number 19 Mercedes heading uphill. That's had a fairly busy race. Francesco Castellacci at the wheel of it. That is set to be, well, 24th in terms of distance. It'll be 22nd because ahead of 2 cars that have retired from the race. And Steve Jans, who's the other Mercedes driver in the shot there, just up the road ahead of the Ferrari. He is 8th overall and 4th in Pro-Am. Tony Villander turning his way out of Bruxelles once more, downhill, going towards Speaker's Corner, and as he does so, then the 59 Ferrari that lost time early on in the race, but certainly fought back very impressively through the night. The team worked very, very well, got the pad and discs changed early hours of the morning, and is now looking good for a class win. There's Duncan Cameron, thumbs up. Matt Griffin still looking desperately nervous. Yeah, a smile is forced, but there's lots of puffing out of his cheeks there. He knows, and he said it to Jack early on in the race, it's not over till it's over, and we're 3.5 minutes away from it being over. And that's Fred Bouby, who is still leading despite the drive-through penalty, the Gentleman Trophy. And it's a good job that the penalty wasn't more draconian, I think, for them, but Sofrev ASP is set to give Ferrari 2 class wins out of a possible 3 here, and for Patrice Guélard and the Jean-Lucs, Jean-Luc Bourbelik, Jean-Luc Blanchemin, this will be a 3rd win of this year, because they won the class at Monza, they won again at Paul Ricard, and Ferrari very much has been the car to beat within the Gentleman Trophy. I think now Audi, rather Mercedes, have decided it's time to celebrate, because now the AMG flags are being readied, and for the first time since 1964, a Mercedes-Benz product is going to come across the line. The race rather different, indeed the circuit different. It's no longer the road course, it's the permanent circuit at Spa, and GT3 had never been dreamt of back in 1964. Bernd Schneider, if he times this right, will be on his last lap coming up to the line now. Let's see when he breaks the timing beam. He does so with 2:24 on the clock, so he's on his last lap, because there is now less than a lap time left in the race. He can afford to back off his pace, and that timing line he has just gone across is where the race will end, but there will be a ceremonial waving of the checkered flag down past the endurance pits, the old start and finish line. If you look at many of the photographs of the history of not just this race but Spa in general, it will always be with that as the backdrop, that part of the circuit. That's the old start and finish area, and the pit lane now only really used for endurance races here. So you've got the F1 pits and the endurance pits, but the Spa 24 hours that dates back to 1924, big on heritage, and they're going to continue to use the endurance pits and that line as the start line, and the ceremonial finish, although the race will have ended a corner before. 14 previous winners started this year's Spa 24 hours, the 65th running of the event. One of them, Bernd Schneider, is going to come through victorious. His last victory back in 1989, as we've been saying during the race. Then it was in a Group A Ford Sierra Cosworth. Now, with the event having moved away from the European Touring Car Championship and saloon car racing in general to GT racing, which has been the absolute perfect way of rejuvenating what was a flagging event, Mercedes is going to come through victorious once again. This fourth round of the Blancpain Endurance Series, it's the first Blancpain victory for Bernd Schneider, and also it will be the first Blancpain win for the two Maximilians, Buch and Goetz. Up and down the F1 pits now, the mechanics from different teams getting themselves ready to cheer home their cars, standing on the pit wall, standing on the Pratt perch, getting ready to cheer home the cars, which will have completed, in the case of the winner, 564 laps. Last year it was 509 in the rain, and it's been bone dry, much to the astonishment of many, right the way through this year. Here comes Bernd Schneider then, making his way up towards Blanchimont for the last time. It's been a gentle lap, this, and understandably so. The car has just been faultless, no question about it. It has not missed a beat, and as it now makes its way up to the bus stop for the last time, the total 24 hours of Spa of 2013 is won by HTP Motorsports, by Mercedes, by Maximilian Goetz, Maximilian Buch, and Bernd Schneider, who accelerates up towards the line. Mercedes wins the Spa 24 Hours of 2013 victory to Bernd Schneider, Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz. The door is opened. A delighted Bernd Schneider punches the air, waves to the mechanics to say thanks for all your efforts and to congratulate them as well as he heads down towards La Source. There's another checkered flag still to be waved. The ceremonial finish of the event you can't overtake until you get there. You have to stay in order, and the Maximilians straight away face the media in the pit lane. They'll go to the podium. We'll hear from them, I'm sure, with John Watson very shortly. John's made his way down there to be part of the victory celebrations. And very happy scenes. We've been so used for the last couple of years to seeing the Audi part of the pit lane, the real centre of attention. Not this year. Mercedes comes out on top. That is going to be a very important win for marketing purposes back home. And for Bernd Schneider, having won in Dubai in 24 hours earlier in the year, he's won the Nürburgring 24, the Bathurst 12 hours. He now adds the Spa 24-hour victory to that list as well. What a season for a man who's theoretically retired from racing. Here's the second place car. Well, sadly, in the last 3 or 4 hours of the race, the Manthey Porsche had to accept defeat against the Mercedes, but Marc Lieb, Patrick Pilet and Richard Lietz have given it their all. The car just not quite as quick as the Mercedes. Home it will come, second overall, second in the Pro Cup, and again, a superb effort from everybody connected to that team. The car just one lap down in the end on the winning Mercedes, and through in third place we have the Audi number 2 just coming through in the background. For honours in Pro-Am, here now comes the AF Corsa Ferrari. Tony Villander will bring it home, and those nervous faces we saw in the garage a few minutes ago hopefully now will break into big smiles. Matt Griffin was looking the most pensive, and let's see what sort of reaction the AF Corsa Ferrari gets. A single finger in the air. P1 in Pro-Am for Tony Villander for AF Corsa, and big cheers as he comes across the timing line. The Speed Lover Porsche in the background, that's not been the quickest car in the race, makes it home. Whether that's going to be classified because of its lack of laps relative to the overall winner, I'll tell you when I've worked out what 70% of 564 is, which is the number of laps completed by Bernd Schneider, who's on his slowing down lap now. The flags all around the circuit wave, the marshals congratulating all of the drivers, and the cars heading now to, in the case of the top 3 in each class, Parc Fermé, the drivers to the podium. And Bernd Schneider, if he can cast his mind back to what it was like in 1989 when he won, must think it's very different now. Spa has evolved, the race has evolved, and so is the level of competition. So Bernd Schneider, Maximilian Buch and Max Goetz, the winners outright. Second for Manthey Racing, Marc Lieb, Patrick Pilet and Richard Lietz. And in third place, it is the Audi, André Lotterer, having a much better result this year than last. Frank Stippler, last year's winner, coming home on the podium once again. And the third driver of that car, Christopher Mies. And he too, I'm sure, will be a happy man with the result. Let's confirm how they came across the line. The provisional classification then is a win for HTP Motorsport. Bernd Schneider, Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goetz win the total 24 Hours of Spa for 2013, ahead of Mark Lieb, Richard Lietz and Patrick Pilet. Third, Andre Lotterer, Christopher Mies and Frank Stippler. Fourth goes the way of Harold Primat, Oliver Jarvis and Christopher Hasse. In fifth place, it is the Ferrari of Tony Villander, Matt Griffin, Duncan Cameron and Alex Mortimer, ahead of Mika Salo, Kira Ladijin, Victor Shaitar and Maurizio Mediani. Seventh, Lucas Ordonez, Jan Mardenborough, Peter Pitzera and Wolfgang Reip. Eighth, Klaus Hummel, Steve Jans, Adam Christodoulou and Thomas Jaeger. Good result for them. Ninth behind them, Pro Speed Porsche. 10th was SMP Racing. And as you look lower down the order, a number of these cars among the walking wounded, but definitely a big cheer for 16th overall for the winners of the Gentleman Trophy. Fred Bouvy, Patrice Goélard, Jean-Luc Blanchemin and Jean-Luc Bobelic bring home the winning car ahead of Sport Garage 52, Kessel Racing 111. But in each case, Ferrari 458 Italias coming home successfully in the Gentleman Trophy. And these are the cars that, sad to say, did not get to the end. Many of them unclassified because of the lack of laps completed, others officially retirements. But it underlines just what a hard race it was. The pace relentless right the way through. We've seen a lot of people with mechanical dramas, a lot of people going out early on in accidents. And quite a few damaged cars are going to leave Belgium and need a lot of TLC before they race again. Wheels coming off Pressy Spark Mercedes. Electrical problems putting out Mark VDS. Engine dramas for the McLaren teams. Damage for number 0 Audi. Number 12 was out with engine problems. Electrics put paid to number 4 BMW. Everything apparently happened to number 9 McLaren. The team really having had a nightmare with that until the car was retired. And accident damage put paid to number 13 previous winners Marcel Fassler and Matthias Ekstrom. Damage and a vibration was the reason for 43's retirement. Number 7 was accident damage. 77 was a spin into the gravel. Number 100 was ignition and then overheating. Number 1 was problems with accident damage and the crankshaft on the car. Engine failure for 125. It's a long list of retirements. Accident damage for number 66 Porsche. We saw that when he got hit by Carl Wendlinger. A wheel came off 123 and did damage. Jos Menton crashed 24. The engine failed on 11. Alex Buncombe crashed 32 and the fuel pressure disappeared on lap 7 for the number 188 BMW. The marshals, having waved their flags for 24 hours, will now be able to leave their post, and the recovery crews will go out and try and retrieve a number of cars littered around the circuit. Many, of course, did stagger to the pits and expire there. Others have stopped around the circuit, and the winning drivers, in fact everybody, being applauded quite rightly for their sterling efforts in the course of that race. They now make their way down the pit lane, and the celebrations will be underway very shortly. Of course, there are 3 podium ceremonies to do, 1 per class, and we'll be getting those underway very shortly indeed, as the cars that don't need to go to scrutineering will be returned to the teams. I think just about every car, though, is going to be double-checked by the officials, so the Parc Fermé area is going to get pretty busy soon. There, though, is the winning Mercedes. The top 3 in each category go to the Parc Fermé area under the podium, ready for the presentations. And a scrum of photographers there. There is the winning car, and Bernd Schneider has his 3rd 24-hour race win of the season. Though again, you can see how in Pro Cup the cars came across the line, but for the purposes of the podium, the top 3 were not just in the class, they were also overall there. The drivers we're going to have up on the podium very shortly. Bernd Schneider bumps his head as he gets out from under the gull-wing door, stands on top of the Mercedes, and Bernd Schneider celebrates a 2nd win in the Spa 24 Hours. A delighted man. 5 times a DTM champion, Formula 1 driver as well. That's a part of his career that people tend to forget. He was not that successful driving for Zach Speed, driving for the Arrows team. He never really had the machinery to do his talent justice. Had he done so, he might have made Formula 1 even more popular in Germany before Michael Schumacher came along and did so. But Bernd Schneider went off to race in the FIA GT Championship and the DTM and win multiple titles. And John Watson is down there to have a word with Bernd Schneider after winning the Spa 24 Hours. John.
Bernd Schneider, you and the 2 Maxes have won Spa 24. How good is that?
Unbelievable. It was an amazing race. Such a hard battle, and we all were really exhausted after the the long night, and no, it was amazing. The team made a fantastic job. The car was outstanding. The car was perfect. We could push and driving as hard as I could, and the car survived, and we survived, and we are really happy. Thank you.
Tell me, how can a retired racing driver win 3 24-hour races and a 12-hour race in 1 year?
I don't know. I think it was the right time to stop with sprint races and start with long distance races. No, I'm really happy. I mean, I did most of the development on our SLS car, and I'm so happy that I still can do some races with our teams. And I'm so happy for HTP team because they was pushing hard. Last year we had a little problem at Nürburgring with the team and in second place. And now, this time, these guys made everything right, and we will have a big party tonight.
Absolutely. Now tell me, you went off message very early in the race. You made an early pit stop. Did that contribute much, do you think, to your overall position and victory?
I mean, in the beginning we were a bit unlucky with the safety car, but now in the end we were in the right moment in, and Manthey-Porsche maybe in the wrong time, and this give us the lead. Otherwise it would be a battle until the last minute.
Anyway, fantastic drive. Congratulations, Bernd. Everybody's delighted for you and for the team. And the two youngsters, the two Maxes.
Absolutely, they made a great job, especially Maxi Burg. He did... he made all the...
Max, congratulations, fantastic effort. All three of you, flawless race.
It was brilliant. It was my first time here in Spa, and we won directly, so it's crazy also for Max. The first time here to win in the first year, so it's unbelievable.
Well, there's two Maxis in this team, two youngsters. Maximilian Buch, congratulations. What does winning 24 hours, the total Spa 24-hour race, mean to you?
A lot. I cannot really say something about it now because it's so amazing. We didn't really expect that. We just came here to show a good performance from our side, and now we are first. Yeah, unbelievable.
Well, you two gentlemen and your senior driver, go and enjoy yourself and celebrate tonight.
Well, they'll go to the podium in a moment, and you can see the emotion amongst the drivers. Utterly delighted. This was how Ben Schneider came across the line with a lap in hand to win the total 24 hours of Spa, and straight away he was able to slow and celebrate with the team, and you can see the reaction from the Maximilians as he came across the line. Bert Schneider's second victory in this event, and it's yet another victory to add to an illustrious CV that he has. What about the second place team, the Manthey Racing guys? John's caught up with them.
Mark Lee, congratulations, but how hard was this race?
It was very hard. It was very hot at the beginning, and you know, we just did single since we couldn't do double sin. The temperature was too hot also in the night, and it was always a close fight. At the beginning it was against the BMWs, then in the nighttime it was against the SLS, so it was always close until the last 4 or 5 hours when we got some engine problems and some safety cars which weren't helping us at all. But in the end we can be very happy with P2, because I think with all the problems we had at the end we can be very, very happy and very satisfied.
Richard Lieb, all three of you drivers drove your hearts out to try and get victory, but do you think that safety car, when you made it, or the error by passing before the safety car line, contributed to the result?
Honestly, I was sleeping at that time, but I just heard about it, and I think it was very close. I mean, nobody is doing this on purpose, of course, and he knows the rule. So I'm not sure, you know, maybe we have to see a different angle. But anyway, we got the penalty, and it's not the reason why we lost the race. I mean, we went flat out from the beginning, and unfortunately at the end we had sometimes just 5 cylinders or 4 cylinders even. So we are happy to finish the race, and P2 is the maximum we could do. And after the qualifying, if you look the speed from the others, I think nobody expected a P2 for us. So it was a nice race, it was a hard fight, and I'm happy it's over now, and now celebration.
Well, congratulations. Patrick Pilet, apparently you're the guilty sub. But anyway, fantastic drive from all three of you, and you must be pleased to be on the podium. Second place, almost the best.
Yeah, we can be proud, like my teammates say. We make an excellent job, especially our mechanics. I would like to thank because they make an excellent job all the time, especially to change the tires. Honestly, we are a bit disappointed, but we cannot do a better result. We have some issue, like Richard said, but we'll be back next year maybe.
Well, I look forward to see Porsche winning next year. Okay, thank you very much.
So as the Manthey Racing drivers make their way to the podium, of course the other team in the Pro Cup for third place was the Belgian Audi Club team WRT, and the three drivers will be down there in a moment, I'm sure. There is the Porsche. You can see all the rubber marks up the side. We hadn't been able to glean news of the engine problem, but now that does explain why the pace was disappearing a little bit for the Manthey Racing car. What about the Pro-Am winners? Let's hear from Tony Villander.
Tony Villander, congratulations, 5th overall, but winners of Pro-Am. And by the way, I called you Mats Villander. No relation, I imagine.
No, he's Swedish and he's a tennis player. So, I mean, the race was great. This was 24-hour racing. Is about up and down, all the emotion in the beginning of the race. We were a couple of laps down. We fight back. We had the rain during the night, and we stayed on slicks, and we fight the laps back. And it was a great effort from, of course, Matt Griffin, Duncan Cameron, and Alex. So I'm really happy for the team, all my teammates, and really good victory.
Well, I'm very pleased also. Matt Griffin, of course, is Irish. Keep it in the family. Finland, Ireland, Great Britain. And what are you looking forward to now next?
I mean, I have a busy schedule in the future. Hey, Mika. I have a busy schedule next week. Some more testing for the WEC championship. But today, I think we enjoyed this one, and this is really important and really what we were looking for.
Well, you Finns and the Irish, I know they can celebrate. You'll have fun tonight.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
You guys here, so it's a good.
And you saw Mika Salo come down, fellow Finn, to offer his congratulations. AF Corse are very much one of the top Ferrari teams, and it's just been illustrated once again here for the squad. It could have had perhaps a 1-2 in class, but remember that the car of Nick Hommerson, Louis Macchiels, Andrea Bertolini and Marco Ciocci crashed out early on today. That was quite a big accident for Louis Macchiels, which of course took another potential result away from the AF Corse team. So the drivers will now make their way to the podium. First of all, though, is the Coupe du Roi presentation, and Amato Ferrari's team takes the trophy and a Blancpain clock as well. And the Coupe du Roi is for the best team effort, and so the presentation done for the King's Cup and then the individual class podiums. It's the same overall, of course, as it is for the Pro Cup, and those drivers are being rounded up at the back of the podium, and then they'll be brought forward. The podium ceremonies, of course, always take a little bit longer than you anticipate, because the drivers want to go and congratulate their co-drivers, and also, of course, here for those teams that are in the top pits, they've got to be brought all the way through the paddocks. This is how it looks behind the podium. Mika Salo in the blue and white overalls. The Audi drivers are there. Slightly gloved faces from Manthey Racing, so near and yet so far. But as soon as the signal is given, then out comes Andre Lotterer, Christopher Mies and Frank Stippler for third place for Belgian Audi Club Team WRT. For second place for Manthey Racing, out comes Mark Lieb, Richard Lietz and Patrick Pilet. And for the top step of the podium, out will come Bernd Schneider, Maximilian Buch and Maximilian Goertz.
Et voilà qui arrive sur le podium, le chef d'équipe également qui va nous rejoindre pour HTP Motorsport. Bernd Schneider, ladies and gentlemen.
There is Bernd Schneider making his way on to the podium.
À l'instant, et naturellement en plus du manager pour l'équipe de HTP Motorsport. Nous allons, mesdames et messieurs, écouter en l'honneur de la victoire du HTP Motorsport Team d'Allemagne.
Now, the national anthem of the winning team. Maximilian Goetz, Maximilian Buch and Ben Schneider win the total 24 hours of Spa for Mercedes, for HTP Motorsports, and 3 delighted drivers are on the top step of the podium as the trophies are brought to the third place drivers and the presentation made by Hugo da Silva, the event manager for Blancpain. Andre Lotterer, Christopher Mies and Frank Stippler hold the trophies aloft, and the Blancpain clock goes to them as well. For second place, the trophies being presented by Patrice Bress, the CEO of Total in Belgium, and Patrick Pilet, Richard Lietz and Mark Lieb have their trophies, and the Porsche drivers celebrate second place. And then for the winning drivers, the 3 German drivers aboard the Mercedes of HTP Motorsport, Maximilians, Goetz and Buch and Ben Schneider are ready to receive their awards. First of all, though, there is another trophy to be found, and it's for Mark Lieb, and there is the Blancpain clock as well. But out steps to present to the race winners, Francois Cornelis, the president of the Royal Automobile Club of Belgium, and he gives 2 trophies, one to Ben Schneider, one to Maximilian Goetz, and the other will go to Max Buch in a minute as the trophy is brought forward. And we also have the impressive Blancpain clock as well that is presented to Maximilian Buch, Maximilian Goetz and Ben Schneider as the winners of the 2013 total 24 hours of Spa. And we've had class wins in the past for Mercedes, but that's the first outright win for the Mercedes in the 3-year history of the Blancpain Endurance Series. And now we have the champagne for the winning drivers atop the podium after another grueling total 24 hours of Spa. In terms of overall wins this year, it's been 1 to Ferrari, 1 to Aston Martin, 1 to BMW, and now 1 to Mercedes. As I say, the first outright victory as well to the car. And as the top 3 in the Pro Cup leave the podium, or will in a moment, the Audi and Mercedes flags are flying, and 3 different brands represented across the top 3 places in the race. Disappointment in a sense for Porsche, not being able to capitalise on this 50th year of the 911 with a victory in the championship with 1 more round to go. It's going to be a good finale for sure, with now 2 points between Ramos, Rigon and Zampieri over Buch, Mies and Stippler. But we need to see how many of the guest drivers, as it were, the race-by-race entrants, come to the Nürburgring, having done Spa. I think it'd be great to have HTP Motorsport and Manthey Racing back in for the last round of the championship. Well, there are the drivers with their trophies, ready to make their way off the podium. All the photographs are done, all the presentations are done, and 2 more podium ceremonies still to come after the 4th round of the Blancpain Endurance Series, the 65th total 24 hours of Spa. The Maximilians savouring the moment, and Ben Schneider, I wonder if he ever thought after 1989 that he'd win it again. Certainly not after such a long break, surely. All those wins in the DTM, all those titles in the DTM, and now for a retired racing driver, his 3rd 24-hour race win of the season. And all at fabulous venues as well. The champagne is dropped and caught by the team. So Ben Schneider congratulated and waves one last time from the top of the podium, and a superb event, a superb result for Ben Schneider. So with the sea of fans and team personnel, mechanics, engineers, all beneath the podium, the Pro-Am Cup will come next to the podium.